There we go. Hello, everyone.
Hello. Just a short check. Sorry. Good morning, everyone. It's gonna go fantastic. Good morning, everyone. Can someone just say if you can hear us clearly, or yeah?
Well, yeah, or not for that matter.
And you can use the chat on StreamYard, or you can use Discord if you want. Just hands up or hands down. Thank you, Lorenzo.
Yay, great.
The sound is fine. Thank you, Edgar. So happy to see you. Well, at least see your name again. How is everyone?
So I have immediately come to understand why streamers have such ridiculous battle station setups, because I have 2 monitors and an iPad to see what's going on. This is bonkers. Yeah, we started a little bit late because I was making coffee, and I have the slowest coffee making system possible. And this week it seems to be even slower because I think those beans are drip really slowly. But here we are. It's all good. It's all good.
I'm post 1 coffee, but that's definitely not enough. So my brain is not really working. Yeah, but we will have breaks in between, and I will try to fill up my energy. Yeah. Any non-coffee drinkers around here? Also, one other question: which chat do you prefer? Do you prefer Discord? To be fair, and I have to say it, for me, Discord is always a little bit intimidating. There are just like too many buttons. I don't know. I hope I'm not the only one. But if I am, I can live with that. We also have some animals around today.
Wanna join? This is my cat Pickles. She sits with me most of the time during the day, so she'll be here, won't you?
Nick shared on Discord. I'm not sure if everyone is on Discord already, but Nick shared a rough outline of what we're gonna do today. If you have questions, don't hesitate to use any of the channels to ask the questions. Leave comments, whatever. If something is not clear, just let us know. Yeah, just should be a fun day, and yeah, really happy to have you all here.
Yeah, to run over the broad plan, I thought of, yeah, okay, Pickles is struggling with seats today, which she does sometimes. So yeah, the broad plan for the day was to try and do a little bit of an intro, because we're not really sure. I wasn't really sure who would join, and then do a little bit of issue triaging. So I'm hoping we can come up with an issue or 2 that we can work on together between Svenja and I. And if anyone else has got something they want to work on, then let us know, because that might be fun. And then at some point, I think Svenja and I are going to split up a little bit. So I would like to get the second release candidate ready for 1.0 today, because I've been meaning to do that for several weeks at this point. But a lot of that involves authenticating things and or just editing boring text files, i.e. the changelog. So that's going to take some time. So I thought we could split up and Svenja can go and work on something whilst I do that. And then we're just going to work through some issues and stuff. So that's kind of the plan.
Yeah, and also I had, depends on how you feel, folks, but for me, language is always quite important, the usage of inclusive language. And so if you don't know, Administrate has an example app where you can see how it works and what it does. And we are using full, bar, bus, simple, easy. And I would like to go away from these words because they are not that meaningful. But when you create a project or when you use, for example, Administrate, you have to think about what's the reason behind why do you want to use it, and have to come up with an idea with meaningful wordings. We all know naming is very hard. But yeah, so I would, if you want to, I would like to talk a little bit about that, like, how we work, what thoughts and ideas might be important to explore and to discuss. And and any questions you have, we are around. Lorenzo, doesn't matter where you feel more comfortable. You can use the chat or Discord. I have both open. So when I look to this side, I see Discord, but I just for me, it doesn't matter. You can use both at the same time. Copy, I don't mind.
Yeah, I can see them both too, which is nice. Okay, cool. Maybe do a little bit of an intro. So I'm Nick. I am a developer at thoughtbot. I'm also a team lead, like Svenja is, which means basically at thoughtbot that means that I manage a couple of people on top of doing all the normal stuff that I do as a consultant who goes and helps people try and build software. Predominantly, most of that's Rails. Often it's not. Then we have the thing called investment time, typically Fridays, where I work on stuff. In practice, I actually work on Administrate all the time through stolen hours here and there, because that's how this kind of stuff gets done. And I've been maintaining Administrate and Appraisal, which are kind of the two big ones. Plus, I'm sort of involved in lots of other stuff as well, for the nature of having been around for a long time. So I've been at thoughtbot for 9 years this year, which is a horrendously long time. And Administrate has been one of the long-standing projects I've kept moving along over the years. I think it's about 6 years now. It wouldn't have been that long after I joined that I started maintaining stuff. And I've done stuff like, it's kind of gone up and down over the years, like depending on actually how much free time I've got. In the most recent years, I've had a lot less time. And so you notice that sometimes, like when we had problems with asset management, I was like, I have no time to actually work on this. And eventually one of my other colleagues helped out, which was really helpful. But I can do stuff like reply to stuff now and again and so forth. So yeah, that's broadly me. Svenja?
Thank you, Nick. I'm Svenja. I'm a development team lead. What that means, well, Nick mentioned and described it quite well. Nothing to add. Usually I mainly work with Ruby and Rails. Also, my current project uses JavaScript and TypeScript, React, and I can't wait to go back to Ruby and Rails. I'm not a maintainer of Administrate. I helped and supported during investment time, and like on Fridays, and I am based in Spain. For the people who are interested in that, and I have 2 dogs and not a cat, and they might and they might bark because they are dogs, and at thoughtbot. Gosh, Nick, for how long? Roughly two years, 2.5 years, yeah, something like that. And yeah, that's it. I mean, yeah, very happy to do this today. I think it's important to give back to the community. I find open source quite important to learn, like I don't want to say newcomers, for when you start out with developing, and yeah, I do think the Ruby community in general is very friendly, very open, and yeah. So again, don't hesitate if you have questions. I really love questions. One question I had every time when I open a new project, and it doesn't matter the language actually, and in the description in the README, there's very often you find something like add this and that to the path, and then PA, like all uppercase, PATH. And I'm like, why can someone not just like explain how to add it to the path? Because, well, how should I know that when I'm new? And these are just like, yeah, I want to make it easy and simple, the two words we should not use, or we try to not use. But yeah, it's just like something that's very normal and very known for one of us might not be known for someone else. Yeah, so just let's help each other out. And we also want to show a bit, like today, how we work. So we pair a lot. And if you have questions about pairing, what we use, how we do it, just ask. And yeah, happy to have you. I have one question. I will always have questions. So is there someone who never used Administrate before we start with an overview what Administrate is? And I'm checking Discord and the chat. Nice. That's great. I'm very happy to have you here. All of you, that is. Nick, do you want to get... Oh, yeah, Active Admin. Yeah, I've used that as well. Edgar, you haven't used it. That's good. Well, I'm even more happy that you joined this track then. And yeah, I've used Active Admin as well. Nice. Nick, do you wanna start with an overview about Administrate?
Yeah, so Administrate is a project to be an admin dashboard. It's sort of born out of how do you do this in a way that's more Railsy and less DSL-like. I try not to be negative towards the other projects because they're very well used. I've used them a lot as well, but they can be quite tricky to extend and does a lot of things which can make it harder to work with in general. And so Administrate is basically a load of generators that creates the structure for pages for you, and then does a bunch of magic to make it easier to hook those up to your models. yeah, you can show you this because then you can see around what it can do. And it just looks like that. It supports
that's the example app. Yeah. Just saying, this is the example app. Yeah,
we have an example app. There's another one as well, which it will be like current main, which is quite handy to use for trying stuff out. But yeah, just gives you pages on the left-hand side, and you can do your standard CRUD operations. It's pretty nice. It's pretty nice to work with. And it's quite easy. It's fairly easy to override bits, so you can make it more like your own thing, which is quite pleasant. So like we've done that. We've done this on a fairly large project of ours, where you can go into the admin area and it doesn't look like this at all. It's completely styled, which is kind of nice, and that's something I've seen people do quite a lot, which is pretty nice. So yeah, does anyone have any questions?
I have a question, because I'm just like fast asking question because I can use my voice and I don't have to type it. But this should not hold you back, right, from writing questions and comments. What is when we think of a real world project application, where do you think an admin dashboard makes sense? Is there something specific, or like maybe the other way around? Would there be a use case you wouldn't use an admin dashboard, or you wouldn't suggest them to?
So I've pretty much found that every MVP project we worked on at some point has wanted a way to configure stuff. And it can be anything from like, you want to be able to manually change some user settings, or you want to organize, I don't know, what's a good example of that? Like change orders that have come in or something like that. And it's such a common, yeah, exactly. Like it's a non-devs thing. Otherwise, it's like, okay, how do you change the data? Like you're either thinking about data migrations, or you're thinking about asking developers to jump into the console and make changes to models directly, which is an approach. I kind of do that on my own project sometimes, but it's unpleasant and it's a pretty expensive way to fix minor mistakes. So yeah, that's typically it. When you wouldn't use it though, that's a good question.
Yeah, I couldn't think of something. I don't know. I really like it, Lorenzo, what you said, and I hope I pronounced your name correctly. If not, please shout. Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, non-developers. You also have to. Well, we are at the next point, because I mean, the name says it already. It's an admin dashboard, so you need roles of users, right? Not everybody can access or should access the admin dashboard, and then you have to think about rules, who can access, who can manage which data. And how much was this relevant for you, Nick, when you started with on Administrate?
Yeah, I don't know the answer to that one. One of the reasons I started originally was that we created it, and the person who created it had left, and we did use it. We did, and we still do use it on a bunch of stuff. And so we were like, this is quite valuable, so we should probably continue this project. And so, yeah, I ended up starting to try and triage some issues after seeing a grumpy response on something, which has been typically the way I've picked stuff up. So yeah, that's kind of how I got started with it.
Lorenzo, I have a good question. What yarn version do you use? And it could be useful to be added in the ASDF tools log.
I don't know if it matters. Like that's.
Which version is it? Oh, for me, it's just like very small, but that's maybe just for me.
Yeah. It might be too small. Yeah, one sec. There we go. Yeah, it's kind of annoying when they break. I haven't quite figured out how to get out of this like extra window. It's quite entertaining because that does that across all of them. I'm using a project called DeskPad to provide an extra window. It's a bit awkward to use or get used to using. All right, let's try that. Maybe that's less weird. There we go.
What are you trying?
I just moved the virtual window to the left, which is more closely associated to where it actually physically is in my dual monitor setup.
So yeah, any other questions about administrate, admin, dashboards in general? Would you like to point out something to work on that would be small enough but effective? Do you mean, Lorenzo, do you mean that on administrate in general, or? Yeah, we can make a triage, for example. Like we want to go through, I don't know, I don't like the word triage. I don't know, it just like has, for me, a kind of negative annotation. What is there another word for triage? Selection? Can we select? We want to go through the open issues and see what we can work on together. Yes.
Yeah.
So like something you never have time, and now is the time. Yes. Yes.
So there's one here which needs testing, which is why I tagged it. This also needs testing. So this is a fairly small change, but we want to add some sort of feature system test around it, because otherwise this could easily regress. And so that's something I would like us to do. This is harder to think about. So to go about this, we need to set up multiple databases in CI to check, to like confirm that it's actually going to work the way we expect. Like, I think this change will work as is, which is usually how it goes, but we need the infrastructure to do it. So that's a pain in the backside. So let's not do that. I'm not sure what else is in there exactly, but this is something that could do with being triaged properly. We might need to create a test application to test this one out. The same might apply to this as well.
I mean, we could start with the test and then how is the coverage of business? Sorry, how is the coverage of business use cases? Yes, that was Ona. It might. She has a lovely voice. She's singing a whole song. Just.
Oh, Lorenzo, you mean for this one?
A Discord call, we could, we could also bring you to the stage, maybe.
We could do that, yeah.
If you are fine with that, Lorenzo. Okay. Bear with me, I've never done that before.
Yeah, next step. Let's figure out how to use StreamYard.
Yes, sorry. Oh, well, we are very spontaneous, right? So, yeah, let's try that.
My favorite approach is to just make it up as you go along.
Well, why not? I mean, let's see. We did try that something like this yesterday, but I forgot where we clicked on.
It's not just invite, is it?
I don't know. Let's try that.
Oh yeah, maybe.
Invite?
I guess to the studio, yeah.
Okay. Maybe you can send Lorenzo a private message on Discord.
Yeah, I can do that.
Lorenzo, you will receive a private message from Nick. And then let's see if we see you here.
With Discord, I keep getting captured.
What's captured?
Every time I try and do anything, I get a, please identify this thing.
Oh my gosh.
Every interaction.
By the way, if you haven't heard it already, I'm not English by I'm not English by choice. I'm not English by English.
I'm not English by choice either, but I was born that way.
English is not my first language, so Nick and I we always have a little bit of a fast impact about me speaking English, which I would not. Well, I don't take it for granted that everybody understands me. So, and I see Lorenzo. So I do think we need to. Do we need to shift the view?
We might need to, yeah.
Let's try, well, maybe with 3. There is Lorenzo. Nice. Can we just like add you to the stage? Shall we try that? Let's see if you will be there. Second. How can we change that? I will try it. Okay.
Go on.
There he is.
That was all the way we had it. Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yes. So I can hear you quite well. Welcome, Lorenzo. It's nice to have you. Very cool to just like, very cool to be that's spontaneous.
Thank you very
Lovely.
much for hosting me.
Sure. I like these spontaneous things. How are you?
I'm fine. Like I'm from SUSE, as I said, and we have a program that we can have one day at work for working for like pro bono purposes. So I said, okay, there's this thing that popped out in our Slack, and so I say, okay, let's go there because our stack in our team is Rails and Ruby. And so here I am. So I've got a full day dedicated to playing, and I was insecure for thoughtbot and the way I said, and Nick, you said, oh, let's not talk bad, but I didn't enjoy the active admin experience. So, and I had to migrate there from major version in a company head. So there was really, really, really interesting experience. So if there's being really necessary to have an admin dashboard if you are doing something that doesn't involve like developers going through the console, and also with having developers going through the console, this could be like drop-in for maybe other. We considered that using in a project of SUSE, but then it was too immature at the time, and we had to go with another solution. So let's contribute, let's go, and yeah, let's see if something gets out of the main use cases. And I don't know. My intention is this: like it wasn't really expected. I just did 2 ultra quick PR because I use SDF and Docker Compose for developing in order to have multiple things going on in the same machine. But those are not needed to be merged. It's like how I work to be like more effective, not having like a Postgres on my machine. And so yeah, this brief introduction is why I'm here. And nice. I feel this is not wrong. Like if other people is here, I feel like they should have the opportunity to come if they want to. I don't know. I'm just telling this wasn't really expected. So.
I think it's great that you did, and no pressure on anyone. But if we're fine with bringing anyone to the stage, and it's just called stage. I mean, stage just sounds super important, and it's just like called the stage. I don't know. I did not make it up. It's just, yeah.
So the thing, if you want some questions, because I'm really used to use Robocop as a linter, but I saw that also on thoughtbot on FactoryBot you use standard something. There is a different
standard now, yeah.
And what are the main difference? Because I never heard about that. Like I only knew Robocop. I only know Robocop.
I will link it for the people who doesn't know it.
Yeah, Justin Searles came up with the idea of having there's an equivalent in the JavaScript community, also called standard. But the idea being just set the code rules and get on with it, which is it's a similar thing. Go has the same idea. where you have Go format and everyone just copies the same way of doing it. And so we used to have a long-standing Rubicop configuration that we used to maintain, and we migrated to standard a while ago. So we just run standard on the project and then never talk about linting ever again, which is pretty nice. I don't agree with all of its rules, but life's too short is my feeling on it.
So how does standard works? Like if there's not
it's just Rubicop behind the scenes.
Oh, okay, great.
It's Rubicop with a default set of rules, which Searles did at a Ruby or Rails conf, like a live interactive talk where they worked on the more controversial ones, and just came up with like this is it. This is how the community is going to do it, and then various people have adopted it since, including us.
Yeah, I think one of the important not the differences, but it's just like that you can't configure it. I'm not sure. Sorry, if you said it, but it's not configurable. So it's very opinionated.
You can configure it.
Well,
okay.
Yeah.
So,
but the intention is that you don't, and you just like add it, and then we're like, right, done. And then maybe when you introduce it, you do one big PR where you just make everything comply with it, which is what we did at some point. Did I do this? I think I did this on Administrate.
it's great to know that, because I was struggling with Robocop configuration, and then DHH arrived with the Oma Kube, I don't remember correctly the name, that was kind of going into this direction, because it said, okay, this is the standard, you go for it, and that's it. And so it's really, really, like, I don't know how it works with like some in my use case. Sometimes I do a class longer than something, and I have to silent that in a Robocop to-do. I don't know if there's the equivalent in the but I think so, because if there's Robocop underneath, the mechanism will be the same. And it's really nice because you just jump and go. You don't have to say, okay, maybe let's decide this. Like, okay, it's okay. Glad to know. I will look into that also.
Do we want to like talk about one or two issues we found or pull requests? Also, currently I'm working with GitLab, and so bear with me if I call it pull request, which I prefer a merge request. And,
yeah, I'm not a fan of GitLab. It's
well, it's different.
Messy.
Yes.
It's messy. It's like a designer has never had chance to help with this and make it not rubbish. Then again, GitHub is worse than it used to be. So what can I say?
Yeah. Well, talking about merging, rebasing, big shout out to Edgar. People might not know I worked in the past with Edgar, who hopefully is also still here. And I had a little book where I wrote down all the commands I need with Git. And then when I started to learn like rebase, and Edgar was an amazing pair. So thank you very much, Edgar. While we go through that, I just feel like I'm, how do you call that? How do you call it in the TV between movies and series? Commercial. I just feel like a commercial.
You need a commercial break.
I just feel I don't need a commercial break. I just wanted to mention that we also have. Gosh, my English is so perfect today. a giveaway, and I will send this here on a T-shirt from thoughtbot. So this is a commercial. I would just like bring it in like every once in a while. You can fill in if you want to. You don't have to. You can fill in the form, and then we will find a lucky winner who will receive a T-shirt, who will receive a feedback. Yeah, I'm very... There it is. And I will pin it. So you can continue, Nick. I stop brabbling.
It's the everyone gets a cuddly toy section of the stream. So we can do an actual commercial break if you want, but like I feel like I don't fancy pitching our consulting services particularly. Hire us, keep me in a job. Anyway, moving on. There you go. That's your pitch. So there's a couple of things I'd like to look at, which are all recent issues, which I think are kind of worth exploring. So this one, I think, just needs an example application to really do anything with. And I'm very curious to see what this is actually doing, because it might be an Ahoy thing or it might not be.
Can you just quickly say what Ahoy is? Sorry, my brain is still in JavaScript land. So
I believe it's this, which is tracking interactions and stuff, but I might be wrong. So that's I mean, it's a good first question to ask.
Okay, so how do you think this is good? Like, there's the example app I saw in the code, so we could just add the gem there and see if this triggers up.
Yeah, that's something we could do. Typically, what I would do as the maintainer is just ask someone to do it. But given we've got time and capacity to do it, we could just try this out. So what I would do is either create a new Rails project and install Administrate on it. I do still have, and I don't know if this will work anymore. So a long time ago, I wrote a script that makes this easier. So I have a script that will build you it's kind of out of date. It will build you an app with Administrate loaded into it, which is kind of handy for quickly trying stuff out. But we could just do it in the example app. The tricky bit is that some of the paths are weird because of the way the example app works, but whatever. So yeah, what I would try and do is install and follow the setup for Ahoy and see if you get the same result. This is using the released version as well, which is kind of what you'd expect. And then, so the thing I'd look at is, does it immediately explode like this reporter has shown? Then if that's the case, bundle it from current main and see if there's a fix that has happened, which in this case might be completely unrelated, but if we've made a few changes around that, then that might be the case. And if not, then it's an Ahoy specific problem. And we'll be able to see what is going on.
I have a comment, of course. We had the Open Summit, and here's a commercial again, just not. When you open an issue on an open source project, what are things you find important? So I'm just asking because on Discord we have a conversation like to follow, for example, the contribution file, contribution. And so when we pick this issue that I linked in both channels, how would you go about it? Do you have some tips that to keep in mind? Because you said like initially you would prefer to have someone someone else doing it.
Yeah. So when I say that, it's if you think about it from the perspective of the maintainer, we get a lot of stuff flying at us, and there's only limited time to look at each thing. And what you want to do is make it very, very easy for someone to be able to replicate the problem that you're having. So hence why we have the issue template, which asks you to like, can you, if you're seeing a problem, like this is a good example of it for this particular case, where the easiest way for me to replicate this problem, or anyone else for that matter, is to provide an example repo that I can clone and then try out. Because then I should be able to run it in a couple of steps. So if you like at the moment, it's a bit low at the moment, but I currently have just short of 30 notifications on GitHub, and that's because I've been vaguely keeping on top of it, but it's often in the hundreds. And so if I'm trying to get through as much as I can in a short period of time, and there's a lot of them, and each issue is kind of each issue. If there's like 30 issues, then they're all kind of equal to me, because unless I'm hitting the problem myself, and so like we want to make it as easy as possible for someone who does know how to do what might be happening, or in this case, I have no idea what's going on, but I've been using Rails a long time, so I can probably figure it out and help somebody. And I'm more than happy to do that. That's the job as such. But you've got to make it easy for the other person, and that's make it easy to replicate, explain what you're doing, give you the versions that you're using. Sometimes that's a case of explain the high level thing you're trying to do. Like some people can get really, and this is a general programming thing, I think, that people can get really stuck down in the particular problem they're solving, but sometimes it's really helpful to step back and go, right, this is the high level problem I'm trying to solve. I've tried this, because then someone else can come along and go, actually, maybe there's a completely different approach you can take that might be easier.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Sorry.
Sorry for interrupting. Like, you mean maybe enforcing is a bad word, but like suggesting to put like the exact step to reproduce, maybe would be like, okay, I just or create a script or whatever would be like super useful. Like I'm trying to reproduce that now live, but I've got problem in compiling locally the DNS, something with this gem they're using. So maybe also saying, okay, create a Docker image or something with the problem that is there. So I can just have to take like and host on Docker Hub, maybe, I don't know, or somewhere else. So I can take that, push a button, and I've got the problem just in front of my eyes. Could be like something that like I'm losing now 5 minutes. I've got to find the library to compile it locally and so on and so forth. So yeah, this would help also the process.
My connection just broke. Sorry.
Oh, that's fine.
folks. Yeah, no, it happens. Some street work.
Okay, Lorenzo, do you fancy trying to give this issue a go and see if you can replicate it?
I'm trying, and I've got this blocker because I'm creating a new Rails app. I added administer and Hoi, I don't know if this is correct name, but compiling with bundler gives me this local error problem. So maybe I'm with OpenSUSE now it's hard to find the same name of that library in SUSE. That's a game I'm playing through some months. So maybe I'll just pin a Ubuntu and solve that if I'm not finding a solution in 5 minutes. And then from there, maybe I'll give you the distilled problem, like finding if we've got the heart of the problem. That seems like a not resolution of a class for a Ruby class.
Yeah, Nick also just shared the is a script
Example
he
thing.
uses. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, I haven't used it for a while, so I don't think it'll work now. Suspenders changed, that's the problem, which is our project for creating Rails applications.
Also the worst to check it out. I can also.
Yeah. Yeah, it's I think just looking at some of these database issues and other dependency issues, the thing is we typically run everything locally and not through Docker if we can avoid it. And we also have most, this is not strictly true, but it's the classic baseline that we run with. So we have a project that is oh yeah, because there's a hotspot there, isn't there? Yeah. Is that we have this, which we typically use for setting stuff up. It's not strictly true because I don't actually use it, but I do it myself. So we have a baseline configuration, which does make life easier because then you've got a good assumption for how stuff would actually be set up. But anyway.
Is the issue you are having? Oh God, I would try to say your name. It might be wrong. Chikyang? I don't know. On Discord, do you still have the issue?
It's interesting it does that.
Are you checking the issue on Discord, Nick? Or
yeah, I was just looking at it again.
Yeah. So just for the ones who are not following on Discord, we are also having a conversation on Discord, and maybe Nick can summarize it for the people who are just checking the stream, which is not a real stream, but a workshop.
This Englishman is embarrassed to try and pronounce this name. My sincere apologies. Anyway, so they're struggling. They've managed to get that running, and then the migrations work. Oh, I wonder if you schema load instead. So the bin setup file should load the schema and set everything up locally for you, as long as
could you open the script, maybe the setup script?
I can do that.
So that's something that's super helpful for any project. So that you have a setup script, and then yeah, then it should work.
Yes. So one of the things that it should do is it'll run DB setup. So that will create the database, then it will do the schema load, which should put everything in place. And then because Administrate is weird and a Rails engine, we have to do this.
When I heard the first time about Rails engines, I had no clue what it is.
I did basically the same thing he did, because I created a Docker image with Postgres and changed something in database, and everything went fine. So I don't know. I using the same Postgres version that he used. So I just recreated everything this morning. So shouldn't be like something related to something broken, because in my case that's working. The tests are passing. I don't know. Strange.
Did you have to change anything to use the local Docker container for Postgres?
Yeah, I had to add there's the PR I did. I had to change a bit the database database YAML and the .env file in order to use some environments, but I did that to be a completely drop-in that is not going to disrupt the work to who is not using Docker, but just adding the options. You can use Docker as a drop-in replacement without like having to change anything at all.
For me, nothing worked, by the way. Just saying. But I couldn't even start it. But just like, because my machine doesn't like Ruby anymore. Just like, I have to convince it that it's so much more beautiful. Nick, did you spin up a new sorry. My brain just like froze.
Just given up, yeah. Yeah, I'm not really doing anything. I'm just following what's going on everywhere, which is surprisingly overwhelming. It's quite interesting.
Oh, good.
There's stuff everywhere. It's great. Anyway, this seems like something I'd like to have a look at as well, which is definitely more Railsy. And this person has created a script to help replicate it, which is really nice.
How is it called? What's the title of it? What's the title of it?
Display.
Okay, got it.
Yeah.
I will post it here as well.
Which might be worth looking at. That said, this might be more valuable.
And that's the one you're loading, Turbo, yeah.
Yeah, this might be a bigger issue.
Okay, I won't copy it then.
Oh, and then Sassy.
Are there some, because we are still in the setup phase, right? Are there some common issues that you know of when you add Administrate to, like, okay, there are two scenarios, right? Either you add Administrate to an existing project. Are there some common issues you know of And then the other scenario is like if you want to contribute to it, like setting up, spinning up, administrate, and running the example app, for example.
Historically, it's usually been people not configuring their models correctly, because the generator relies on reflection. It needs to understand what the structure of the models so that it can generate stuff from it. So typically that's what people would hit. Other problems are like things using the same namespace, admin, which everything's under, or other significant deviations from Rails defaults. That's typically been it. And for a long time, we had a load of issues with namespace models, which was a particularly tricky problem because at thoughtbot, we kind of avoid it because it adds a lot of complexity, and it wasn't able to handle that for quite a while. And then another one, what was pretty common, I think we've broadly solved those now, so that's all right. Namespace models anyway. And then the other one would be locale related things or certain new features that clash with it. Like this SASC example is a good one. That's quite common. Like when another dependency changes and everything goes bang, and it's like, oh, that's annoying. Try and keep it so that you don't hit these problems, but it's hard to say often.
Yeah.
I'm giving up on this DNS thing on my computer because it wasn't. I did this in the past and it's not interesting. But I saw there's a great vulnerability report in the GitHub. So it's a sort order SQL injection that was reported a bit time ago, and there should be the patched version. I don't know if this is something can be looked at, or another one would be like I saw there's an issue.
Oh, that is that was a fun one. Yeah, that would be worth looking at.
Something solved or not. And there's this other issue on modern dashboards. It's really interesting because I was thinking about that and having multiple dashboards, one for maybe like the people for the people that are working for the company, maybe that gives the product as a SAS, and then a dashboard for the people using the product as a CSS. Could be like a use case they are reporting there. So that could be also something interesting to integrate maybe. And it looks like the PR is just one-liner, so maybe just adding some tests there, and I don't know if this could be something useful too.
Yeah, it would be. I know this person here had tried something out, but they've got something there, so like maybe it's worth trying to make that happen and solving that. Seems like a good idea.
Great, Lorenzo. Nice, well done. Anyone still needs some support in setting up Administrate, or how do you feel about taking a little break? Now for real without the commercial. Also, I might give the commercial. And then go into the first issue. Decide on an issue? Or do you prefer to go first on an issue? Nick?
Yeah,
Yes.
lunchtime, exactly. I think I need a break. We're going to continue for another 45 minutes or so, and then we're going to take an hour break.
Yeah, let's do that.
So maybe we take a little break now.
A 5-minute break. Or yeah. And then until 2 for you, Lorenzo, and myself. Does that sound good? Let's do that.
Okay.
If you want to, we can bring you back to the stage later on, Lorenzo, if you feel like.
As you wish, I can jump on. Like I'm working here, but like I'm working on the thing. But yeah, maybe after the lunch, if this needed, I can jump on if you want.
Yeah,
maybe to a program or something, and that's okay for me. Fine to me.
Nice. Thank you so much for joining, Lorenzo.
Well, it's really nice. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Lorenzo. Oh, he's gone.
But he can still hear you.
That's true. That's very true. Okay, cool. I'm going to take a quick break and I will be back.
Me too. Let's switch to the... Can you open the...
I'll put the banner back up again.
Thank you.
Oh, because that's actually just behind. There we go.
Oh, yeah. No, I think you just need to remove it.
So sorry. Do we remove?